Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Daily Dose. This week, we're doing something different. We're having a really important conversation on race and faith. And so we both think that it's really important that we engage in this topic now more than ever. If you're someone who is watching on Facebook tonight, would you do me a favor? Would you share this on your personal page? Give others the opportunity to engage in this important conversation alongside of us. If you're someone who's watching on YouTube tonight, would you go ahead and subscribe to Calvary's YouTube page so that you can continue to get all of the updates that we offer? And if you're watching on television, we are so glad that you are here and welcome to this conversation. If you're new to Calvary, we'd like you to go to our website at www.calvaryalex.org and click the Join Our Emails. That way you'll continue to get updates and messages on all the conversations, all the important conversations that we're having these days. Pastor Hans has a wonderful message about race and faith for us tonight, and I'm glad to stand here in solidarity with you as we have this conversation.
Yeah, I'm so glad we can have this conversation. I just want to recap. If you didn't join us yesterday, Angie had a great message. We talked about fear and how as we look at the events that have unfolded in Minneapolis over the last week and a half, here's what fear does to us. Fear causes us to start to point fingers, to blame people and groups of people. And so what we want to do is we want to say, well, it's that cop's fault. We want to say it's just cops in general. Or we want to say it's George Floyd. He made a mistake. He shouldn't have committed forgery. Or we say it's African Americans in general. They shouldn't be doing all that they're doing, right? But of course, here's the deal. Fear is what's driving us. And Angie, you had a great message about how what all of that is doing is sort of putting up a protective mechanism in us. It's keeping the issue at arm's length. And you had some great questions for us that force us to look inside.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really important that our first step is to look at what's going on in us before we even try and tackle any of those other things. We need to kind of be centered in those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had two specific questions.
I did. I had two questions. The first thing is I want to encourage people to go ahead and look at how your parents and your grandparents talk about race in your household. I know in my household it was hardly ever at all. So there wasn't much for me to talk about.
And in our household, there were some pretty nasty names we called Black Americans around our house.
So I think we got to own that first, right?
Yep.
Even if it rustles up something in me that I don't like. Some shame or some other things. The second question was, what are your early interactions that you've had with people of color or people of a different race than you? A lot of them, our brains are working on forming these patterns and these understandings. And so I think the first thing we can do is really look at ourselves and unpack kind of how we got to where we stand right now.
Yeah. And I know for me, growing up in a small town, like maybe some of you, I spent no time around people of color growing up. And so I feel like I, in some ways, am still in preschool, learning how it is that we be together and be people together. Well, today I want to talk about something that I remember hearing as a kid, and I've heard it every once in a while over the last week and a half. And that's this statement that I've heard, or maybe it's a question, and I've heard it from many of my friends that I love. Why are Black Americans so angry? Why are Black Americans so angry? When we watch them on TV, they seem so angry. And I think we need to unpack that a little bit and wonder a little bit, not just about our experience, but about what do you imagine the life of a Black American in the U.S. to look like today?
Right.
And I think we have to be honest and not put up walls, but to just let the facts sort of soak in. For example, for a Black American, when they send their kids to school, their kids are 3 times more likely than my kids to get suspended from school. A Black American driving down the road is 30% more likely to get pulled over than I am as a white American. When a Black American goes to apply for a job, they are 2 times more likely not to get that job than I would. And when they do get the job, their household income is 60% of what our household income might be. You see, the statistics aren't just sort of coincidental. Our jails, 40% of the people that are incarcerated in our country are Black Americans, while Black Americans make up only 13% of the population in our country. You see, I've heard it said this way, that to be a black American in this country means you have to work 2 times as hard to get half as far. You see, what I want to suggest today is that to be a black American in our country means you have more pain than any of us ever see. I think most black Americans would say that they stuff down more pain than they ever let out. In fact, I was reading one author the other day who said something to this effect: if every time I experienced a racial slight in this country and broke down, if every time I experienced a racial slight and broke down, I would be a basket case. Angie, here's what you know, I know. As Americans, just as humans, we all know what it's like to hurt. Right? I think every one of us have experienced hurt in our life. For example, when you put your hand, this is a silly example, when you put your hand on a burner, it hurts, right? And then most of us, we go and get the aloe, we put a Band-Aid on it. But the experience of a black American in our country is that each and every day, their hand is being pulled over that burner, day after day after day. Now, we've heard a lot in the news lately about a label. It's called white privilege. And here's what you need to hear. White privilege doesn't mean that your life has not been hard. All of us have experienced pain. You've lost a mom. I've lost a mother. I've experienced divorce. We've all experienced hurt and pain. White privilege doesn't mean that your life has not been hard. But what white privilege means is that the color of your skin doesn't make it harder each and every day.
I can't imagine.
So here's the deal. I think what binds us all together as humanity is that we all know what it's like to hurt. We've all experienced pain. And the hallmark of the Christian faith has always been compassion. That's what Jesus' life was all about. The hallmark of the Christian faith has always been compassion, that we hurt when other people hurt, that we feel it viscerally when others hurt. In fact, when Paul was talking to the church in Galatia, he instructed the church that what it means to be the church is that we carry one another's burdens. When he was teaching the people in Rome what it looked like to be the church, he said, we mourn when others mourn. See, the hallmark of the Christian faith is compassion, that we hurt when other people hurt. And so we've got a couple of questions today that we hope will guide some conversation. We want this to be a conversation maybe with you and your neighbor, or get on the phone with somebody, talk to your kids about this, talk to your spouse. And here are the 2 questions for today. The first is this, and it's probably a pretty easy one. Name a time when you have really hurt in your life. Angie, you've hurt, I've hurt, we all hurt. What's a time when you've experienced deep pain, deep loss in your life? But then don't stop there. I want you to imagine this sort of second question. I want you to wonder, what do you imagine? What do you imagine the hurt and pain looks like that an African American, a black American experiences each and every day living in this country simply because of the color of their skin? Would you imagine, would you wonder about that? And if that question is really hard for you to wonder about, would you call someone? Would you read something to start wondering, what is that all about? Because as Christians, the hallmark of the Christian life is that we are compassionate, that we hurt when others hurt.
What a powerful message for us today, Hans. I am really grateful. I think about the word compassion. It actually means to suffer with. If you look down at the root of that, so come meaning to with, and then passion, suffering. So to suffer with alongside. So your message speaks wholeheartedly to me tonight. I know you've given me a lot to think about. I know Nolan's got a couple of songs that we can use to kind of contemplate how we're going to act with compassion. And I encourage you to talk to the people around you about the questions that Hans just posed.
Yeah. What is a time in your life when you have really experienced hurt and pain yourself? It starts with our hurt, our pain.
Yeah.
But then secondly, we need to start imagining, what does the hurt and pain look like that black Americans experience day in and day out, just simply because of the color of their skin?
All right, so go with compassion.
Hey friends, it's Nolan from Calvary, and we're singing a song today that was written several years ago about the injustices that were going on in a different time, in a different place. But I think you and I can agree that that is still happening today, but not just acknowledging that that is happening, but knowing that we have a hope in God who loves you and loves me and loves our neighbors. So let's sing and pray today about the things, the greater things that are going to happen through and with God. You're the God of this city. You're the King of these people. You're the Lord of this nation. You are. You're the light in this darkness. You're the hope to the hopeless. You're the peace to the restless. You are. There is no one like our God. There is no one like you, God. Greater things have yet to come. Greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things have yet to come. Greater things are still to be done here. You're the Lord of creation, creator of all things. You're the King above all kings. You are. You're the strength in the weakness. You're the love to the broken. You're the joy in this sadness. You are. There is no one like our God. There is no one like you, God. Greater things have yet to come. Greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things are still to come. Greater things are still to be done here. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done in this city. Glory shines with hearts alive, with praise for you and love for you in this city. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done here. Friends, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what you're up against, no matter what seems impossible right now, I just ask you, I encourage you to sing with one more time that we believe greater things are here, greater things are coming to us, are happening at all times. With God, we can do this. Let's sing. Greater things have yet to come. Greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things have yet to come, and greater things are still to be done here. We believe it. Greater things. Greater things have yet to come. Greater things are still to be done in this city. Greater things have yet to come. And greater things are still to be done here. Amen. God bless.